I'm just playing by the Bible, I don't play by my own rules. Yeah, can't have no vendetta, I've been settling in fuels. Yeah, been on go like Nike, I've been moving like this swoosh. Yeah, taking off that.
Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. I hope y'all having a good night. Tonight we are talking about fighting the flesh, desires of the flesh, things like this, how to fight this. We're going to be talking about a couple of things. First off, I just want to say, I'm pretty sure I've already been docked for hate speech and shadow banned by YouTube, so I don't get very many views. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know I have, but I don't care. I don't care. We know who YouTube works for. We're going to keep going, though. Tonight, we're talking about the flesh, fighting the flesh, the spirit versus the flesh. Yeah, if you're a Christian, you know already. The spirit and the flesh are always fighting. The flesh will never stop fighting against the spirit until we're glorified in our new bodies. So you better get comfortable battling. This is a battleship. This ain't a cruise. Let's do it. Okay, so the flesh is weak, the spirit is willing. I want to bring this up because a lot of people quote that one. It's probably one of the more popular ones. This means that you can't do it. Because, let's be honest, without God, we are completely carnal, completely human. We have no knowledge. We have no heavenly wisdom without God at all. He's the one that gives us this certain discernment. So you can't do it. Just keep that in mind. You cannot do it. The Spirit does it for you. Right. So Romans chapter 8, verses 5 and 6. For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit, or of God, you could interpret it. For to set the mind on the flesh is death. This is not talking about physical death. This is spiritual death. If you fully are dominated by your fleshly desires, you will die spiritually. If you're not spiritually eating, you will die spiritually. But to set the mind on the Spirit is life and peace. So, this is the whole gospel, actually. God putting himself in a vessel, taking on our sins and failures into his body. We are healed by what he did. It's nothing we can do. So, that's what I mean when the Spirit will do it for you. We have a soul, and that is the parable of a marriage. A marriage in the physical realm. The parable of a marriage is actually to see God in it. Our soul that is inside of this vessel that's talking to you right now has a feminine characteristic. God, Yeshua, is the bridegroom. He is the masculine characteristic. Brisket, cricket. No, I'm just playing. But Yeshua marries the soul. Boom. It's a parable of the marriage. So now, if you walk in the Spirit, Galatians 5:16, you will not gratify the things of the flesh. Of course, you will be tempted, you will be tested, but this is the process, the fiery trials. Now, I just want to put something to rest really quick, because when I was searching on YouTube, YouTube and Google actually, I was seeing people say that Ephesians 6:12 means that we do not have to fight our own flesh. That verse is talking about fighting other people. We fight against spirits and principalities. They're taking that way out of context. I'm going to put that to rest real quick, and I'm going to bring up another verse. Romans chapter 8, verse 13 this time. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. I don't know how much more plain it needs to be. And that's scary. That's scary. Sometimes when I'm eating, bro, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's so good, man. I'm like, oh man. And on top of that, I've been reading a book by David Platt, and it's talking about like 26,000 kids that die every day because they don't have food, or they're dying by preventable diseases. So I just feel like bad every time I'm sitting here eating now, indulging. Let's be honest, sometimes like you be smacking it up and you don't even think about things like that. I mean, I'm not trying to ruin y'all's meal, but it's ruined a couple of mine, so there you go with that. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. Romans 8:13. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. This means to crucify the flesh. This means that, just like John the Baptist said, John 3:30, I believe. He must increase, as in he, that's Jesus, Yeshua. He must increase inside of you, the Spirit. I must decrease. The ego, you must deny yourself and let the Spirit take over. Also proving my point that you cannot do it. The Spirit does it for you. I hope somebody is catching what I'm saying right now. All right, so I'm not going to come at you with all this information on that we have to fight the flesh. We have to let the Spirit do it for us. That's crazy. You're probably asking a lot of questions like, well, how do I even begin to do that? How do I do this? First, you seek God, of course. Matthew 6:33 is probably my favorite verse. It's always meant so much to me because it's simple. Seek God and everything will be added to you. Simple as that. You seek God, you try to strengthen your relationship with Him. You trust Him, walk by faith and not by sight. That means that it's going to get hard, and sometimes you're going to be like, God, where are you? God, where are you? I'm down here struggling. I'm getting beaten up by these demons, by my own flesh. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. You'll come to that point that you cannot do it. You'll start to understand, like, oh, maybe that guy on YouTube was right. I can't do it. Yes, I'm telling you right now, you cannot do it. I cannot do it. I was never able to do it. I want to give you a couple of things out of the Bible that are going to help with what I'm saying right now. There's an escape, always. 1 Corinthians 10:13. This is a beautiful verse. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. This means your brothers and sisters in the body that are walking with the Father, truly walking with the Father, are going through the same thing. And that gives me comfort. And that should give you comfort as well. God is faithful. And He will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, He will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it. Now, if you are ever fasting, which I don't want to go into a whole nother topic, but fasting is biblical. Jesus said when you fast, not if you fast. That's really, I'm just going to leave it right there because I'm not going to go into should we be fasting, how should we be fasting. I water fast, and I've noticed that when I do fast, other temptations that are from my past try to come up. It's like my body is already like, man, he's not eating. So let's try to get our desires out, get our fill in a different way. Literally. And if you practice fasting, you probably know what I'm talking about. The body will try to make you go to a different outlet so it can feed itself. Literally, it's crazy. It's like a little beast. There's a reason that the number of man is 6. Men were made on the 6th day. Anyways, so I wanted to mention fasting actually because this is probably the greatest weapon we have against fighting the flesh. This is probably the greatest weapon we have against fighting the flesh. And when you do fast, you will be tested. I've noticed that when I fast, I like crave stuff that I usually don't want. Like, one of my sins from my past was nicotine, smoking vapes and like cigars and stuff like that. And I noticed that a couple days into the fast, like one day, maybe 2 days into the fast, man, like, bro, my flesh wants me I've had a internal monologue battle where I was trying to justify, like, oh, just go get the nicotine. And then I would come to my senses. I would read a verse like 1 Corinthians 10:13 right here and be like, bro, what am I talking about? I'm like, what am I talking about? And it's crazy to me how quickly you can try to justify something in your mind just because your flesh wants it. Insane. That's why I always say that the flesh is stronger than Satan. Satan is he's just a spiritual being that if you allow him to get in, he'll get in. The flesh is something we're fighting all the time. It's with us. So, James 4:7, submit to God, and the devil will flee from you. And by the devil, I also mean the flesh. Anything that goes against God is the devil or Satan. It simply means the enemy or the adversary. So, if you submit yourself to God, what does submit actually mean? Hey Siri, what does submit mean?
Submit means accept or yield to a superior force or to the authority or will of another person.
Or the will of another person. This means get in God's will, and he will save you from the flesh. He'll save you from the demons. He will save you from the world. And then you won't have to do it. This is the big lesson I'm trying to get across. You are nothing without God. If you follow your own will into the world and you just forget about God and all this stuff, you're going to think you're something, because pride is something that comes along with our natural sin desires. But when he comes and every knee drops to the floor and every tongue confess, you ain't gonna be so tough. So I'm saying, there's something that somebody said one time. They said it's better to live like there is a God and be wrong than to live like there isn't a God. And then he shows up. One is way worse than the other one. Brothers and sisters, I hope that somebody has learned something from this. I really hope that I can help exhort and encourage you to follow the leader, which is the King of Kings. You know why he's the King of Kings? Because we are kings. I'm about to prove it. James 1:12. This is the last verse I'm going to give y'all, and then I'm going to call it night, because I got to edit this and probably read a little bit. James 1:12, blessed is the man or woman who remains steadfast under trial. This verse has helped me so many times when I'm being tempted. Of course, I fail sometimes, but this verse will help you. It does wonders. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Next time you're being tempted, think of this verse. James 1:12. James 1:12. It's an easy verse to remember. Easy numbers. 1, 1, 2. Real easy. Think of this verse when you're being tempted and be like, blessed is the man or the sister. If I just don't give in to this, God will bless me. Pretty simple. If you want a blessing, a true blessing from God, there you go. Next time you're being tempted, remember this verse, brothers. Like I said, shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. I hope y'all have a blessed night. Pray for your boy. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize.